YouTube world. I'm back with a beginner's video, a ring pour. Now, ring pours are my nemesis. Why? I don't do them very often, so I'm out of practice. And I have a workshop at the end of the month, and the people that come in are going to do a ring pour. So if you're a complete beginner, do not start with this technique. It really isn't a technique for complete beginners. So go back to a flip cup if you're jumping straight in and you've seen something, a fantastic ring pour, and you think, oh, I want to do one of those. It isn't simple, and I struggle with it, but I'm going to break it down as much as possible for you. So you see here a massive array of colours. These are Monte Marte. I've been sent these to try out, which I'm going to do now for you. They're beautiful colours, really bright, very creamy. I've mixed them all up as per my normal recipe, 2 to 1. Look at the description below. I haven't had to add any more water to any of these colours except for the gold and the violet. Now, consistency for a ring pour can be a variety of consistencies. Actually, I've seen people do ring pours where their paints are quite fluid, and I've seen people do ring pours where their paint is on the thicker side. So it really depends what effect you're going for. Let's get back to these Monte Marte paints. Each paint is either opaque, semi-transparent, or transparent, or even semi-opaque. Depends where it falls on the scale. But on these Monte Marte tubs, these are 300ml. These are from Acrylic Pouring Supplies, by the way, the UK one. I'll put the link down below. You'd miss it, but on there's a little tiny dot, and that's a solid dot, and that simply means it's a solid colour. It's opaque. It means it won't let any light through. In contrast to this old mauve and all the others, actually, there is a half circle, which means it's semi-transparent, which means it will let the light through. Now, I didn't spot those little circles on there, so I did my own test, and this is a really good way if you're not sure about your paints. You see a lot of people, they just choose paints because they love the colours, but they're not really thinking about transparency and opacity. It's a massive thing in acrylic pouring, it really is. You need to know your paints. And a really good thing to do is to do a black line and paint over your black line, and you can instantly see whether it's transparent or not. So I instantly knew that my cerulean blue here was the opaque one. Doesn't let any light through, okay? I can't see the black line through those brush strokes. So for a ring pour, my paints are on the thick side. I want to see really definite colour, crisp, clean lines. Now my paints are thick. Let's try and choose a colour that you'll be able to see. This one. I've not added any more water. It creates a mound and it soon goes. If I was to trail it, 1, 2, 3, and it's gone. Slightly thicker than I would normally have. And I'm going to do a consistency test on my tile to make sure that they're all exactly the same. But before I do that, in a ring pour, it's probably a good idea, and it's a person. Oh, there's my door. Huh. That was a very important delivery of paint. And it's chucking down with rain, so I didn't want it left on the doorstep. Okay, so where did I get to? Ah! Consistency. No. Transparency and opacity. In a ring pour, it's a good idea, personally, to have all opaque paints. I haven't. And when I go through all my opaque paints, this is a good thing for you to do actually. If you have lots of paint, go through your paint and see how many opaque paints you've got compared to transparent paints. And if you're having trouble in your acrylic pouring with not having definite colours, your colours muddying, check that you're not using all transparent paints. Start to mix it up again a bit. Start to substitute paints for other paints for opaque paints. And you'll find that that will make a difference. Now, if I used all these paints in a ring pour, which I'm going to do to demonstrate actually, they're all transparent apart from this one. Now another way that I can make these colours a little bit more opaque is in each one of these cups I have titchy witch bit of heavy bodied titanium white by Golden. A little goes a long way. Now I don't know if this is going to work in acrylic pouring. I use this in normal pouring. If I don't want a paint to be transparent, I'll add a tiny bit of titanium white. Now I'm hoping this is not going to be too much, so I'm going to take half of each one of these quantities and mix them into these. So it's quite interesting actually, how a little tiny bit of paint can alter the hue of some colours but not others. It's really affected the gold and it's really affected the violets. Now if I had some golden fluid, violet and gold, I'll just put a few drops in there. And I have got some teal, and not that it's altered that colour drastically, but I can bring that back up by just, that's about 4 drops in there of golden fluid. And that will bring the pigment right back up. Obviously, by adding the titanium white, it's made the paint thicker. So I just need to work hard and making sure that they're all the same consistency. Which is my next job. Okay. I'm back. This is a couple of days later actually. I just didn't get round to doing this yesterday, what with one thing and another. And just overnight, it's funny how things keep you awake. I've substituted the Monte Marte Violet with an opaque paint, and that's Payne's Grey. I was just really worried about using so many transparent paints. I am still going to do 2 ring pours, so I'm going to do one with these colours, and then I'm going to do a second one with my original set, but with white added, as you've just seen. So I hope I'm not overcomplicating this. I probably am, but I really don't mean to. And this is why it isn't one of the very first videos. And you can see here I've done my consistency check, and I added more water to the gold, the blue, and although just a dribble, because that's more or less it. Obviously I've gone into more depth in previous beginners video and how I do my consistency tests. Now this is a 10 by 10 deep edge canvas. I like deep edge canvases for ring pours because I like to see the rings coming down the sides. And in this particular technique, I don't use a paint catcher because obviously that will muddy the nice lines. So a 10 by 10 inch canvas is quite a nice size for a beginner. I think a 12 by 12, you're controlling a lot of paint for a ring pour. Now, there's all sorts of vessels that you can use to decant your paint onto your canvas with a ring pour. One thing that I have learned is if I was to fill my cup up to the top with paint and then pour it out, and it will dribble down the side and kind of pour from the bottom of the cup. Well, that's not good. That's not going to work. You need control. And I've seen a lot of people do a ring pour with these cups. They've got a little lip. So I'm going to do the first one using this plastic cup with the lip. Now I know that for a 10 by 10 deep H canvas, I need about 152 mils of paint, which is roughly just over half of this. I always go a little bit more than what's recommended. Obviously you can use, this is a bit small for this canvas, but these are good with a little spouts. If you're doing a small ring pour, you could equally, actually you could use this and do one ring pour there and one ring pour there. That's probably a good thing to do as a beginner. If you want to have a go, do one ring pour there, one ring pour there, and then tilt. You see a lot of people do that. Or you could have these split cups. I am going to use this today. Okay, so the colour that you put in your cup first is the colour that's going to come out last. Therefore, if you want a light centre, use a light colour. If you want a dark centre, use a dark colour. It's that simple. It's just something that when I first started, I always had to try and get my head around it. The colour you put in first is the colour that comes out last. Some water in there. Okay, so we're going to get layering. Now, again, just to double check consistency, it's thicker than I would normally have it. Leaves a mound, leaves a trace for about 3 seconds, and then it goes. Now, when it comes to actually pouring, I can't talk and do it at the same time. So I'm going to run through this quickly now. When you start pouring, I always start with a straight pour right in the centre. In fact, grab a bit of paint. That's where I'm aiming for. I've seen people pour, and you can start off with big rings and get smaller, that's fine. But just imagine that plumb line. It's going straight from your cup to your canvas, and you're going over in the same place. Imagine a 10p piece there, and you're going round and round and round. You're not going bit there, bit there, bit there, bit there. It's still classed as a ring pour, I guess, but you're just going to get some wonky effects. There is a travelling ring pour where you travel round the canvas. That's a different technique altogether. But we're just going to do a straightforward ring pour. I go down to the centre there. So let's get layering. So think about pouring a pint. My paint is going to go down the side of the cup in the same place. Now, if you put very, very small amounts of paint in at once, you run the risk of muddying your colours, because your rings will be very, very, very tiny. So I'm just chopping and changing and going with my gut. I'm nearly there actually, as to what colours I want to see next to each other. There we go. Yeah. Okay, I've just swapped to a voiceover here because obviously I can't talk and do this at the same time. You'll see when the paint initially comes out, it's a little bit ripply, but you do soon gain control. You can see already that the rings become smoother, and I actually find it easier to go quickly. I don't find it easier to go slow, and this is a little bit like riding a bike. If you haven't done it for a while, it's tricky. Now you can see as I get towards the end, I start slowing down and I start taking more care over my rings. And I keep going. I'm sorry you can't see this angle. I will change it in a bit. I keep going until I can get my finger on my left hand. So I'm shifting my weight to my right leg and I grab that drip. There you go. Give that a torch. Okay, so what I want to do is I just want to create a bit of movement on this canvas. It's a bit, oops. So what I do is I just use the leftover paint that's in here with my finger. It looks a bit ugly, but you want the paint to glide over. I even just pull on the edge sometimes of the ring pour because that's what's going to go over the edge anyway. Okay, so feel the weight of the paint and commit to a corner slowly. Back to the centre. Just be sure you hold the canvas underneath and not on the sides. So come down to this corner, back to the centre. So at this point, I often put it down and give it another torch. I do that because you can see air bubbles, and what they do is they catch. And this is where my OCD kicks in. Because I don't like that bit. Okay, so we'll come back down. Back to the centre. That gold is really going to shine. Look. So I could probably carry on tilting a little bit, but I don't want to. Let's just check. See, this is where experience would tell you when to stop, when to keep going. A little bit more down here. Now when that dries, it's going to be very beautiful. There's a lot of gold in there. So cleaning up the sides, my corners are white, so I just drag the paint from the bottom and I literally let it fall. Don't dab it on, because what will happen is you'll muddy the colours again. So it's like doing little mini pours on the corners. Just let it fall. Okay, just before we do, I'm going to do 3 actually, because I want to do that again, but using this cup and see, so it's got a very pointy spout, so you'll be able to see the difference. And because when it comes out with the plastic lip, it does kind of come out in folds. So we're going to give it a go with this. So I'm just literally going to pour some paint in. I'm going to alter the colours, apart from obviously you've seen me just put gold in the bottom, but I'm going to alter each side. Another thing that you can do to ensure that you have definite rings in the centre is actually put your opaque paint in first, and that will give you more definition. I'm doing this voice over, obviously looking back on this, and the gold, you'll see in the dried results, the gold really did dominate all 2 paintings. This pointy spout is slightly easier to control, you can see there. I've got some nice rings going. And it's quite, I find it tricky to keep in the same spot. You can see I'll get a little bit wonky. But just keep going. Don't give up, don't stop start. And then as you get towards the end, get smaller into the centre and then start slowing down. Lot more gold in this one. So I've got some white in a cup here. It's going to use. So it really doesn't matter what colour you put around as a flow extender. I'm a little bit stingy with with my flow extender. So you just want the paint to glide over. You don't want everything to fold over in itself, and you lose your colours then. Commit to a corner. Always have a pair of tweezers handy. Fluff there. completely different again. Okay, so this is the third one. I'm not quite sure what order I will show these in. If this one turns out the best, I'll show this one at the first one. This time I'm just going to use a paper cup. Everybody's got a paper cup. I've marked my level, so 152 ml of paint is roughly up to there. Sorry about the mess of my hands. I've just been painting all afternoon. And I'm going to form a spout with this and see what kind of difference that makes to the other two vessels that we've used. I'm also going to try and set up a different camera angle. So I'm conscious that the camera was just looking down on my hand when I'm going round and round and round. So I will do that in, I'll do that now. I'll do that now. So these are my colours mixed with a little bit of titanium white so that they are less transparent. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Obviously, if you want less of one colour, more of another, then simply don't put so much of that colour in. So hopefully you'll be able to see a lot better at this angle. So I'm just pinching the cup. I'm going to start off doing a straight pour. Then when I have control, I will then start doing my circles. I think by now my arm was a little bit achy. This was a fun one to do. You'll see when it dries. But you just have to push through the wonky bits and try and pull it back. You can see just here it gets a little bit wonky. That's what I don't like. And you just have to keep concentrating on that circle. And you can see that I try and move faster to really get that flow going. And I'm letting quite a lot of paint come out at once actually. I'm not going slowly. Now I'm slowing down, you can see. And you see I'm going over and over that same ring again and again and again and again. Until I'm pretty confident that it's not going to drip. This simply means if you're not happy with the way you've done your rings, they're just a little bit, they're not symmetrical and your OCD is getting to you like mine, you'll see that you can just get a stick and you can just drag through. In fact, you don't even need to do very many. I think I might just leave that. I'm going to give it a torch. Tutti fruity-ish, this. That's a sweetie here in the UK, by the way. Okay, I'm back with the dried results, and I apologise if this has been a long video, but with beginners videos I try and not speed anything important up or cut anything out. You basically, you see it how it is. So use the chapter stamps in the description below if you want to skip or watch it in 2 halves. This was the first one. I'll just catch the light. And you can see how that gold, that Monte Marte gold, normally gold sinks, apart from 24 karat gold, which you have to, the deco art 24k gold, which you have to use really sparingly because it will take over. But you can see that this is very gold. It is very gold. This was with the split cup, so predominantly it's red one corner. I wish I'd opened it up a little bit more to have some of the blue, but remember I said that if you put an opaque colour in the bottom first, then you'll get more definition in the centre. So that's it's a very blingy ring pour, that one. And also with transparent paints, they dry dark. So if you imagine you had, and I haven't got any actually, you had some transparent film, lots of different colours of transparent film, and you held one up to the light and you could see, and it'll turn everything yellow. You put another colour on top of that, it will darken. You put another colour on top of that, it will go darker. So if you lay transparent films, different colours together, you'll get a muddy mess, and they dry darker. So that's predominantly what's happened with these. They've dried darker, except for this little beauty. I'm calling this Tutti Frutti. It has got some gunk in there, just thick bits of paint, but I'll forgive myself because it's just a demonstration. But this was the one that I put a little bit of titanium white in each colour, but everything is a lot more defined and obviously not as dark as the other ones. That's Tutti Frutti. But however, I have one more to show you. It's a little bit wet. You can see that this, can you see the silver? So this is my next video. This is a ring pour, it's a Rekka ring pour because, well, you'll see in my next video. This is using Liquidex pouring medium. And I much prefer it for ring pours. Now, when this is fully dry, it won't be as shiny as the others. So probably need a coat of varnish if you wanted it to be glossy. But I just found it, for a ring pour, I found it so much easier to use. I found it just flowed better. It just did. So it's been a good exercise for me, these beginners videos. We can get locked into doing the same technique over and over again, and we forget, it is like riding a bike, that we still need to go back to the basics and practice the basics. But I did splash some water on there, and you get some tendrils, whatever you call them. I can never say that word. And it's just where a different consistency of substance has got onto the paint, and it's just spread. So I really like this one. I really do. And I even put pink in it. I don't do pink. So this will be released straight after this video, and you can go and watch it. Thanks guys. If you've found it helpful, please let me know. If you've got any questions, please let me know. I'll look forward to hearing from you. Bye.